Welcome to Bear Archery's Hunting 101 podcast, where hunters new and old come to learn and find inspiration from stories of hunts gone by. Everyone is welcome to enjoy the outdoor way of life, and there is no better time to start than right now. So let's head into the great outdoors with your host, Dylan Ray.
All right, guys, welcome to Bear Archery's Hunting 101 podcast, as always, presented by our friends over at ScentLock. I'm excited. It is finally cold. It's finally snowing and getting the nasty weather. So that means I get to pull out all my favorite ScentLock pieces. Guys, I would highly encourage you to check them out if you have not. In my opinion, as far as whitetail hunting goes, it's the best you can buy. Their activated carbon technology for maximum odor absorption, I believe, really plays a difference. So I would highly encourage you to go check out our friends over at ScentLock. I've got a special guest on the phone, somebody who's not a stranger to the show and definitely not a stranger to Bear Archery, Mr. Bryan Burkhardt. Bryan, how are you, man?
Hey, I'm doing great, Dylan. Thanks for having me.
It's the middle of hunting season. How could you not be doing great?
Yeah, I know. I'm in my vehicle right now. I just got out of the woods, so I'm down in Southeast Ohio hunting whitetail right now.
Now, how cold is it there?
It was 27 this morning, and there's just a little dusting of snow on the ground. So it was really nice, but it's warmed up to, I think, 39, so it all melted.
Yeah.
We're having some pretty good weather.
This national cold front, which I was watching a thing and several places, this winter are expecting like record-breaking lows. I know in my area, they're saying last year we had a brutal winter, especially for my area. It got to like -20. And they're saying, hey, this winter's going to be worse. So buckle up. So a national low, it's like, man, anywhere you want to hunt, just pick, a lot of times you play it as like, oh, well, Ohio's catching a low this week and it'll be in Iowa next week. So it kind of helps you play your schedule. But with national lows and as somebody who hunts different states, how do you decide where you're going to hunt now?
Well, let's see, for whitetail hunting, I've got a lease in Southeast Ohio. So that's where I'm at right now. But I had the opportunity to hunt Illinois earlier this season. And then also I hunted Iowa. And so I'm just making the progression. I hunted Illinois first, then Iowa. And now I'm down in Southeast Ohio.
Now, where'd you kill that giant at?
That was Iowa. And I killed him.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, he's a nice deer. And I was passing up, some really good deer that I would have shot on my lease in Ohio in a heartbeat, but I just knew the caliber of deer that there were in Iowa. So I was holding out. But when I saw him come in, I'm like, oh, if I get a crack at him, I'm gonna have to, really.
Yeah. You certainly don't pass up a deer like that. You're the kind of guy that doesn't have many friends, are you? Like,
well, I do a thing. I try to video with my phone deer that I pass up, and I call them haw passes. So it's got to be a deer within 20 yards that I've got a legitimate shot opportunity at, not one behind me that I can't shoot, but one that's a legitimate shot opportunity. And I think last year I ended up, having 75 haul passes, and I think I'm around 40 this year. So
that's why you don't have any friends.
Yeah. No, we have some good fun with it. But
when you watch guys, when I watch videos like that of guys like yourself, it's like, listen, I wouldn't have passed that deer up anywhere. And then they keep rolling in. You're like, no, I wouldn't have passed that one up either. Nope, not that one either. Nope, not that one either.
Yeah, no, that's what makes it fun, and it's, like last year I had 75 haul passes, and my daughter finally sent me a text and said, just shoot something. I want some meat. And so I ended up shooting a doe. I think it was January 15th. I shot a doe just for some meat. So sometimes it doesn't work out, and you kind of look back and say, man, I wish. You look back at the videos and you're like, man, maybe I should have taken that one. But I like having the season extended too by passing up pretty nice spots.
Yeah. I does it, and maybe it's just because I'm brand new to the traditional side of things, but for me, that changes the caliber of deer I'm willing to shoot. There were deer last year, perfect examples. I had deer come in and I would have my compound and I just thought, no, not with my compound. However, if I had my recurve, I would shoot you in a second. Which doesn't really make sense. I mean, you would think if you want to kill it, you want to kill it, no matter what weapon it is. So why do you think there's that disconnect between different weapons and what I'll shoot? And I don't think it's the same for you because you've always been traditional, but for those guys who make that change, why is there that line of well, if I had my compound, I would shoot it, or if I had my recurve, I would shoot it? I think I know why. But why do you think guys kind of change that standard?
I guess my perspective is it's all about the challenge. And so, it's, getting a deer in close with a recurve in stick bow close is quite a bit more challenging. And when you do have a deer get into that range, you want to take advantage of that opportunity. So I guess my perspective is it's just about the challenge. And so,
Yeah.
You can reach out further with a compound. And so, you can have more opportunities in that regard. But, like you said, I've always hunted with traditional, and now, I'd give out hall passes to make it more challenging, trying to get just a bigger buck.
Well, I don't think guys fully understand the difference in, 28 yards and 18 yards. Like,
Yeah.
like that, and we're gonna get into my traditional season because I need some advice. But guys just they don't understand that difference. They're like, he was at 28 yards, you didn't shoot him, or even the difference in a window that you have to shoot through.
Right.
I'm willing to shoot through much tighter windows in the brush with my compound, just because you can really thread that needle a lot better. But there's been situations where I'm like, yeah, I had him at 13 yards. I just couldn't squeeze a shot through there. And, with a compound, that becomes a lot different. And people just can't really wrap their mind around those two differences in that short amount of distance. Sure, we can shoot targets at 28 with our recurves, but there's a lot that can happen in 28 yards with a recurve on a whitetail.
Absolutely.
And that makes it difficult. And so I think that's where that line just kind of gets drawn, for me at least. But
well, Dylan, to your point, the talking about the 28 yards versus 18, I would say it gets exponentially harder to kill that deer because you've got to draw your bow. It's not like you got a compound and you draw it back and hold it and let the deer come in. I mean, you've got to draw that bow when that deer gets in that shooting lane. And so with him being at 18 yards or 15 yards, his ability to spot movement goes up dramatically. So
absolutely.
It just adds to the challenge of it, and that's why I think it's so fun.
Now, just so I don't know if I've talked to you since, I took my recurve to Idaho and ended up shooting a bear, hit him a bit high,
nice.
Never found him. Just a really rough, I think that bear is probably dead, just based off of where I hit him, and got a complete pass through. And I know it was a bit high, and I admit that it was a bit high the moment that I shot it. And then I shot a decent whitetail with my recurve, but I missed completely. And at that point, I looked back at my season and I thought, God, if I just had my compound, then I would have a bear from Idaho on the ground, and I would have a nice whitetail here in Kansas on the ground. What's your advice for that person? Not just with a recurve, but that person who's had a rough season altogether. Maybe it's with a compound, maybe it's with a recurve, but that person who, or maybe even a rifle, they've just had a rough go and they're just ready to give up, or ready to switch weapons. If it's with a compound, a lot of guys just say, I'm going to get my rifle. This is stupid. And if it's with a recurve, a lot of guys say, I'm just going to go get my compound because both of those shots were chip shots with a compound. What's your advice for that person? How do you keep them hanging in there?
Well, I guess, to me, it's about the reward when it does all come together. And so, for somebody that's struggling, if they have the perseverance to just stick with it and, and try to learn from the mistakes, like, if you totally miss the deer, chances are you probably didn't pick a spot. I don't know the exact situation, but I know when I miss, I can always go back and say, you know what, doggone, I was looking at the old deer, I didn't pick a spot. So I would just say, try to learn from your experiences and your mistakes, but stick with it. And when it all comes together, that's when it's pure joy and pure celebration. So
I can tell you exactly what happened. And I know exactly where the mess up was. A deer came in quick. And again, it was a pretty decent whitetail. Came in quick, and there's a big difference in coming to full draw with your compound and then stopping a deer, and then with a recurve. And so I get to full draw, and I have to stop this deer who's moving at a brisk pace, pretty good pace. You have to stop that deer, and then I just completely rushed my shot process. I just, once you make that noise to stop him, whatever it may be, whatever noise you make, once you make that noise, you get that feeling of, oh crap, I got to shoot real quick. And with a compound, that's easy. You just shoot. But when you start working through that shot process with a recurve and that, man, I just rushed it and I shot way too quick. And, I didn't pull through my shot well. I just didn't walk through the normal process of my shot, because I was so worried about getting that shot off quickly. And I just shot right over his back. And so, now it turns to practicing in your backyard of stopping an animal and making a shot process. My best advice,
at least what took place and what happened.
right?
There's a lot of guys that don't even understand what happened and why they missed, and so at least you've got the benefit of understanding you didn't go through your entire shot process. So
right.
I typically do not stop deer. Now, if one's coming in really fast, then you've got to stop them. But like, I love shooting deer just on a regular walk with a very consistent cadence, because I can just, pick a spot, pick an opening in front of the deer and let them walk, into it, and almost shoot them like you would a compound. Just hold it back and then, shoot him as soon as he gets in that shooting lane. So I because they tend to be so close with a recurve, I tend not to want to make any noise and put them on alert. So I don't stop.
Right. You're familiar with Harv Ebers, correct?
Yeah.
So Harv is the one that taught me how to shoot a recurve.
Right.
And, he told me, he said, every time you shoot, whether that deer's at 3 yards or whether that deer's at 30 yards, whether you're shooting a target in the backyard or whether you're shooting at a new caribou, a new world record caribou, no matter what you're shooting or where you're shooting, you've got to have a shot process. You've got to have verbal cues or, words that you say in your head as far as steps go. So grip, hook, anchor, pull, whatever that process is for you. And as soon as I shot, and I do really good at that, usually, even when I shot that bear, I did really good because that bear wasn't rushed at all. He came in slow. He came in easy. He was rubbing his back on. I had ample amount of time to shoot this bear. However, as soon as I shot that bear, I thought, dude, I didn't walk through one step. I just pulled back and shot. Yeah. I never thought about one piece of my shot process. Now, muscle memory carried me a lot of way through it. You still shot the same, but there wasn't the normal progression that I had. Now, I'll tell you what I did, and I'll tell you what everybody should do when you get in that just crap, I'm ready to give up. Shoot whatever you see. Just get something on the ground.
Yeah, that's good advice too.
Just find that, that sense of, okay, I can do this. Even if it's with a rifle, I don't care if it's with a compound. Just shoot whatever you see. The first doe that walks in, the first, I don't care. Just start building back that confidence of, okay, this can happen. I can do this. This will all be okay. I don't care if it's squirrels in your backyard. I don't care if it's rabbits in your back. Just find something to tell yourself, okay, I can do this. I can make this happen. That's what I did. And now, I'm back essentially. Because you go into the season, you've practiced all year long, you're confident, you think, man, dude, I'm shooting really good. This is going to be a blast. Well, then you have a couple incidents under your belt. You've got a couple mess ups under your belt. And then you think, dude, I just need to grab the rifle, or I just need to grab the compound or the crossbow. I just need to move up to where I know this will be easier.
Yeah.
No, hang in there. But find something to shoot. Find something to just start building that confidence back, and you'll get back there, I promise.
Well, yeah, I think that's great advice. I mean, there's nothing like, having a lot of experience, and, and confidence is certainly the key. If I used to, or I have a cousin, and when he started hunting and a deer was coming in, he would think of the 100 things that could go wrong. And sure it did, and you've got to go into that predator mode where you see that deer coming in and you're just focused on the spot you're going to shoot and have confidence you're going to make the shot. So I totally agree with you. Being confident and having that confidence is really important.
Yeah. And there's a huge difference. This is for all you social media gurus. There's a huge difference in being cocky and being confident. I can't stand cocky hunters of, oh, dude, if I see it, it's dead. Like, if it gets within 100 yards, I'll kill it. Like, there is things that can go wrong. But the guy that knows, man, if that deer gives me the opportunity, I'm going to do everything in my power to make the most of that opportunity. And, most of the time deer don't leave that situation. There's a difference in being confident and being cocky. Because that moment you start thinking, man, there's nothing that can go wrong. Like, I'm the best hunter there is. I'm the best shot there is. Like, I haven't missed in 12 years. That's usually the moment you get humbled. That's usually the moment, things start to go wrong. And I do think part of that cockiness played into my mistake, because I had told my wife, for the weeks leading up to my first hunt, man, I'm shooting really good. Like, I can't miss. Like, you throw a tennis ball at 50 yards, I'll hit. Like, just being super cocky. Not confident in my equipment, not confident in my abilities, but cocky by the way that I was shooting, and I got humbled. I got humbled quick.
Well, it happens. It happens to everyone, but at least you're learning from it. I think that's the key.
Yeah. So what is I'm anxious to know, what is your inspiration? Like, what drives you? Was it a specific person you watched growing up? What keeps you in the game?
Well, I would say it was two people specifically. My childhood hero was Fred Bear. And, we would go to the Grayling Museum when it was there. And every once in a while he would be there, and, just seeing what he accomplished with the bow and arrow, and then seeing his movies and all that was my childhood hero. My mentor was my dad. So my dad shot his first deer with a recurve in 1961 and came home and sold 32 guns, and just,
Wow.
exclusively, after that. So, I was fortunate to have, my dad as my mentor, and, he shot bear recurves his entire life, up until the later years. And so he was just, my mentor and somebody who I looked up to, and somebody that I learned a lot from.
Now, being that you have just stayed true to who you are, you've been traditional from the beginning. There was no like going back. And I heard somebody say, quit calling it traditional archery. It's just archery. This is archery. What you guys do is new archery, not, this isn't traditional. This is, anyways, being somebody who's stuck to their guns. Has that thought process ever came to mind? Like, This would be a lot easier if I just got a compound. Like this would be a lot easier if I switched. What keeps you on traditional? Why stay that way?
Well, again, for me, like all my brothers, when we were growing up, I've got 4 brothers. They all shot, recurves and longbows, and then they've all kind of migrated to compounds. And they'll still shoot a stick bow, but for the most part, I would say 90% of the time they're hunting with a compound. For me, it gets back to that challenge. I just, it's one where when it all comes together, you just can't beat it. And sure, there's been deer that, nice bucks that I've had to let walk. And if I would have had a compound, I would have been able to, to take them. But you've got to be willing to do that. But for me, everything I do, I like it to be a challenge, because when it all comes together, the reward is just that much sweeter. So that challenge and making things, having a sense of accomplishment that you accomplish something that's pretty difficult is really the internal drive for me.
Right. Speaking of being traditional only, I can say this kind of with confidence. I don't know for sure, but I'm sure they're a mutual friend. But our guys over at Three Rivers Archery, who cover all things traditional, guys, I would highly encourage you, if you are a traditional archer and or trying to make the switch to traditional archery, Three Rivers is a phenomenal place to go. They have phenomenal resources. They also are full of information. I call them all of the time. Just to pick their brains on arrow length or tuning or whatever it is that I might have questions on. They know the equipment because they use the equipment. They're the largest in-stock selection of traditional archery equipment in the United States with same-day shipping on a lot of things. I would highly encourage you to check out Three Rivers Archery. I know they've got some sales coming up for Black Friday and Christmas, so head over to threeriversarchery.com for all things traditional. Now, what is your, and this is such a hard question, and I don't even like asking it almost. What's that top trophy for you? Like that one that just stands out in your mind and means the most?
Well, for me, that's pretty easy. It's just my favorite animal to hunt is Alaskan moose. And I've gone every year since 2008. And I've told my pilot to book me through 2030. So I just love hunting Alaska moose. And so, I don't know if I have a favorite moose. I've killed 7 now. But I would say the one in 2016, that moose, I stalked it over a mile and then used a fake antler to walk in, stole or took his cow away. And he was really upset, and he tried it twice. And fortunately, I was able to kill him. But that was a pretty exciting experience. And I honestly thought I was a dead man, because where I was at, it was all brush. I didn't have any trees to get behind or anything. And
oh wow,
he was not a happy camper. So
wow. Going back to the inspiration types of things, do you ever think about those exhilarating moments and that helps you get through the crappy moments?
Yeah, I think for sure, because it's, I tend to be a pretty positive person, just my nature, but I think you've got to, having those experiences that you just want more of, they drive
Right.
that's why you're doing it. And when you have those adventures and those experiences that give you that kind of thrill, you just want more, so
I think as bow hunters, one of the biggest challenges is having short-term memory loss. I had a guy tell me one time, he said, you have to have short-term memory loss. You have to forget about the times you messed up. You have to forget about blowing a stalk or missing the shot, or you've got to put those things in the past. Now hold on to the memories of when it all came together. Hold on to the memories that are joyous and that are, you're excited and you're over the moon and you're celebrating, hold on to those moments. But those moments where you fail and those moments that get you down, you've got to have short-term memory loss in those moments. And just forget them, move on. You know, kind of what I said, you go back to just kill anything to get your confidence back and forget about the times that you messed up.
Yeah, you don't want, those experiences to haunt you, but at the same time, I would say I actually enjoy it sometimes when the animal wins. If I'm stalking in on a moose and the moose, picks me off or it just, I don't get the opportunity, I'm okay with that. So it's one where, I've learned over the years to really respect the animal when, say, a whitetail, he's coming in and you're going to get a shot, and then all of a sudden he just picks you off, or he spots you up in the tree or whatever. So it just gives me more respect for the animal and how cool they really are.
Yeah. And that's what, when you think about it, like when you really start to think about what's going on, that animal is fighting for its life. Like that animal is playing a chess match that if they lose, they're dead. We're playing a chess match where if we lose, we go back home, we get to try again tomorrow.
Right.
They have a lot more skin in the game, with life being the challenging thing to hold on to.
Yeah.
And let's all be honest here. None of us hunt only for food. Like, if I don't kill anything, my kids are not going to starve to death. We still have meat from last year. We can run to Walmart. We can run to McDonald's. I'll even swing through Taco Bell. We can go to a lot of places to get food. I'm not going to die if I don't kill a deer. And I, that's the case for everyone. We're not in this for life. Now, my kids do eat the animals, but that deer has a lot more at stake than us. So what's wrong with not letting them win, but what's wrong with being okay with them winning every once in a while? You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, and they do. I mean, to me, they win most of the time. And
100%.
So
think about how much hunting would suck if you were successful 100% of the time.
Yeah, it would get really boring.
My dad told me that one time when I was a kid. He said, "Well, son, what would happen if you went out and shot a deer on the first set of the year?" And I'd be like, of course, I was a kid, so I was like, "Yes, that'd be awesome, dude. Like, forget all this garbage." But then he's like, "Okay, well, you went out the first evening, you shot your deer. Now what do you do for the rest of the year?" Especially us Midwest hunters, we've got through the end of December, sometimes even the end of January, even into February in some states.
Yeah.
So you shoot them October 1st, whenever your season opens. Now you have all of October, November, December, and January that you don't get to hunt because you're already tagged out. You say, "Well, yeah, I'll go to a different state." Well, again, if we're successful 100% of the time, I hunt Arkansas, Missouri, Oklahoma, Texas, and Kansas. That means I only get 5 days to hunt all year long if I'm going to be successful 100% of the time. What's the fun in that?
Yeah, no, I'm totally fine with, with letting the animals win or when, like you said, not letting them win, but when they do win. And I think that's especially true for bow hunters in general. You just make it more challenging, and the more challenging it is, the animals are going to win more times than not. But again, when it all comes together, it's pretty special.
I do think too, I think it gives you respect for the animal as well. Sometimes people think the non-hunting community looks at us as hunters and they think we despise these animals, and they think that, we're big bad wolf going in to kill animals. I have more respect for that animal than they could ever imagine having. I know more about that animal, and I care more about that animal, and I love that animal more than they could ever imagine. And I think, again, if they never won, then we would just be murderers. We would just be bloodthirsty guys going in to kill animals. But when they do win, when they do outsmart us, which, again, more times than not, they're playing checkers, I'm playing chess. The more times than not they outsmart us and they beat us, that's what gives us the respect for those animals. that's what gives us the admiration for those animals. And, sometimes we just need to sit back and applaud them because they beat us.
Yeah, I know. I've had that thought, when animals beat me, I'm like, you know what, you just deserve, or you just earn my respect, because you think you've got it in the bag, it's all coming together, and then it blows up, and you're like, wow,
Right.
the animal is able to do that.
Now, what's next for you? What do you got for the rest of the season?
Well, let's see. I went on a bear hunt in Alaska, and I'll tell you, that was I was climbing up. I was hunting by a salmon stream, and I was climbing up a bank. I was about 6 foot in the air, and I pulled on a root, and it broke loose, and I fell backwards and
Oh no!
fell on jagged rocks, and actually snapped my shoulder blade in two. And
Oh my gosh! How are you even shooting a bow?
well, I couldn't. I couldn't even hold up my bow after it happened, and so that kind of ended the bear hunt. But that was in August, and then I got back from Alaska, went to the orthopedic surgeon. They did a CAT scan, or I think CT scan, and an X-ray, and confirmed it was snapped in two. And I said, well, here's the problem. I'm leaving September 6th for a month moose hunt in Alaska, and I need to be able to shoot a bow. And he said, all right, you're going to be there a month. He said, I think you might be able to pull a bow by the end of the hunt, which was encouraging, because I thought he was going to tell me, you're not going to Alaska. But then I actually got into camp, and I took my bow on the first day, and it was a bear A-handled mag riser with the Fred Bear Camel, and I put 50-pound limbs on it. So it was actually 52 pounds because it's an A-handle. And I pulled it back really slow, and I was able to get it to full draw without any pain. And so, I mean, your shoulder blade has so many muscles around it that they didn't do any surgery or anything. It just said it just needs time, and it will kind of come back together. And so I pull it back the first day, and I'm like, oh, if I have a big moose in front of me, this is not going to be a problem, because I'll have adrenaline and all that. And so, yeah, in 2 weeks, I was actually able to pull back 50
Wow
bow and kill the moose on day 15. So it was pretty cool.
That is cool.
Yeah, so I did the moose. Then I went to Illinois. I got invitation from a Compton Traditional Bowhunting member. He said, hey, the Compton board does a lot of work. And so he said, I'd like to donate a hunt for the board members. So we all put our name in a hat, and my name got drawn. So, I mean,
the rest of the board hates you.
Oh yeah. I mean, they're all like, oh, this is rigged, cause I'm the president of Compton. But anyway,
rigged for sure.
I went to his property. It was 1,600 acres. I think he's got 150 tree stands, just whitetail heaven. I mean, and I was passing up. I mean, I went into his house, and I'm just seeing, multiple deer 180 or better. It's just
wow,
incredible what he's got there. The properties he's managed. And so I'm passing up 130s, maybe even a couple 140s, and deer I would have shot on my Ohio lease in a heartbeat, just holding out for a monster. But it didn't happen. The weather kind of got warm, and the activity slowed down a little bit towards the end. And then I went to Iowa, and I killed that whitetail on day 2. And that was a pretty cool story. It was 240, 245 when I saw him coming behind me, and he was coming in about 50 yards behind me, and he walked totally behind me and past me, and he was getting ready to walk out of my life. And I grunted pretty loud and got his attention. He stopped, and then I snort wheezed, and he pivoted and came just charging in, and I shot him at about 15 yards. So that was pretty cool experience. And like I said, now I'm in Southeast Ohio on my lease down here hunting. And I guess I'm seeing some bucks, but not nearly as many as I have in prior years. We don't. I'm hunting big timber, so it's pretty acorn dependent, and we we don't have any acorns on the lease this year. So I think that's one of the factors that's having an impact. And they've told me that Southeast Ohio was hit with EHD, and I haven't seen any dead deer, so I haven't seen that on my lease, but that could be a factor as well. So,
Right.
I'm seeing some good sign. So it's one where I'm just gotta put in the time and do the grind, and, and hopefully something good
Yeah.
happens. And I normally go to
Um,
Kodiak in November, but I'm not going this year. I'm going next year. So pretty much it's going to be
Gotcha.
Ohio whitetails and then Michigan whitetails if I tag out in Ohio.
Very cool. Before we move on, I got to give a shout out to my friend Nick Deeker at Nick's Knife Works. I'm a massive fan of knives. I'm a massive fan of a good hand forged knife. And the best part about Nick is that if you call him and you tell him what you're looking for, he'll build that knife exactly for you. So whether you're looking for a lightweight backcountry knife to put on your binocular harness, an everyday carry pocket knife, whatever it might be, he will build that knife for you. And there's something to be said about having a good quality hand forged knife in your backpack that when I pull this out, it's going to be sharp, it's going to be ready, it's going to be good to go. So I would highly encourage you to check out Nick's Knife Works. He's got a website where you can buy some knives online. You can check him out on social media at Nick's Knife Works. But he makes some incredible hand forged knives right here in Kansas. So go check him out. Bryan, what is your number one tip for that hunter who's having a bad season? What's your number one tip for that hunter to start changing that season and turning it around? Fred Bear is big on his field notes, and these are the types of things that I note in my mind of how do I turn my season around? How did I turn my season around? So what's your number one tip for that person who's just kind of having a rough go at it for the year? And that, they're ready to quit and give up.
Well, the best hunters I know and the ones that have the most success are the ones that spend the most time in the woods. And so time in the woods will typically end up equating to more opportunities. So I would just say, be stubborn, persevere, and spend a lot of time in the woods, and good things will happen.
Who is the best hunter you know?
Well, it's I was telling you, my dad was my mentor, and he doesn't have the biggest bucks on the wall and all that. But to me, in terms of his woodsmanship and his ability to read deer sign and all that, I mean, he was somebody that I really looked up to. You've got guys like Chris Perino that consistently gets it done.
Golly. He doesn't have any friends either.
And I've got Jim Ecka. You've met Jim. He's consistently gets it done. So I mean, there's a lot of guys that consistently get it done, but those are a couple of the guys in my mind that if you were going to put money on them getting a deer, year in, year out, those are a couple of guys I would put money on.
Do you know Frank Noska?
Yes. Yeah.
That guy is the same way.
Yeah, I know Frank from Pope and Young. I don't really know him that well, but I think he's the president of Alaska Bowhunters Association too. But
I know he's only a couple animals away from completing the Super Slam for the third time.
Yeah.
Just insane.
And he just killed a huge whitetail too.
In Kansas, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I get asked that question a lot of like what makes a good hunter, or somebody kills a new world record or a crazy big deer, and you're like, somebody's like, man, that guy is a good hunter. When I think of good hunters, I'm much like yourself. I'm looking at people who are consistently putting down mature animals. I don't care if one guy stumbled upon a giant buck one time and shot it. That doesn't mean you're a good hunter at all. That doesn't mean you're a good woodsman at all. But when you watch people Perfect example is Chris Perino. When you watch people who are constantly putting down just quality animals, mature animals for whatever species they're hunting, you're like, dude, that guy's got it all together. He's a good hunter. He didn't stumble upon a new world record one time. He didn't stumble upon a 200-inch one time. But he consistently is putting down good quality, mature animals for whatever species he might be hunting. And that's, to me, the guy who's never hunted elk and can go in and find elk and kill one just because they're good woodsmen. That's what makes a good hunter.
Yeah, I think you bring up a good point. Somebody that goes on a bear hunt and gets a bear, somebody goes to Kodiak and gets a black-tailed deer, somebody that, goes to Kansas and gets a whitetail. It doesn't matter what they're hunting, they figure out how to get it done. And
yeah,
those are the people that, to me, spending a lot of time in the woods, you get experience and you learn things over the years, and those people consistently can put all that information together regardless of the species and typically make it happen.
right. And, because no matter where you're hunting, I don't care if you're going on a moose hunt, you've never even seen a moose in your life. No matter where you're hunting, over the years, you've acquired this set of woodsman skills and you've acquired learning about animals. And there are certain things that apply to every animal. Every animal in the world needs food, water, and shelter. Now, and this time of year or earlier for elk, every animal wants to mate. So there's certain things about an animal, it doesn't matter what species it is, that hold true. And those guys, like you said, who can walk into a moose hunt, and they've never even seen a moose in their life, but they can apply what they know about animals. They can apply what they know about the woods. They can apply what they know about the mountains and food sources and find a moose and kill it. That's a good hunter. I'm not saying they have to be perfect or even adequate at making the calls, at calling in animals, because that does change. I mean, there's a huge difference in calling a moose and calling a whitetail. You make a lot of different noises at a lot of different times of the year. So that's not even what, in my opinion, makes a good hunter. My opinion and what makes a good hunter is somebody who knows how to apply the woodsman skills they've learned over the years and consistently gets it done on big, mature animals.
Yeah, I agree.
How does somebody become a better hunter? Again, I'm not, and by the definition we just applied, I'm not talking about just kill bigger animals. I'm not talking about just kill more animals, but how does somebody, in your opinion, become a better woodsman, a better all-around hunter?
Well, I think I keep saying this, so it's a little redundant, but I think time in the field is just really important, because you get to observe animals, you get to see sign, and you start recognizing patterns. And so, I think that's probably the best thing you can do, is just spend a ton of times in the woods. The other thing I would do is if you know a good hunter, spend a lot of time with that person and ask them a lot of questions. If you can, spend some time with that person in the field so they can help you point things out and actually help educate you in terms of what they've learned over the years. So, if you've got that opportunity, I would definitely do that. But if you don't, then I would just spend a lot of time in the field.
Pick the brain of anybody you can find. I drive Jim Willems nuts because I'm calling him all the time. Jim, I'll send him a picture of a screenshot. Dude, how would you hunt this funnel? All these different things. How would how do you do this? How do you do that? Where would you set up here? Would you set up a ground blind or a tree stand, morning or evening sets? All of these things. And I'm picking his brain, and I'm asking him everything I can about, equipment or properties to hunt. I'm just trying to soak in as much as I can and ask him everything I can. Now, let me note this. You just said try to spend time in the field with him. There's no better opportunity than right now. Pope and Young is doing a raffle, and they're going to send you on a hunt at Liberty Ranch, which is one of my favorite places in the world to hunt. 7,000 acre deer paradise in Oklahoma. They're going to send you on a hunt with Liberty Ranch with Chuck Adams. There's no better person in the world to spend some time in the woods with than Chuck Adams. So head over to Pope and Young's website, pope-young.org, and you can get entered to win that raffle with bow hunting legend himself, Mr. Chuck Adams. Bryan, before we go, I want you to give me the elevator speech for Compton Bowhunters. Why should they join? Why is it important? What do you do?
Yeah, so I'd say Compton Traditional Bowhunters is the only national traditional organization. And I would say, it's got a lot of hardcore bow hunters, as members, but I would say the main focus is on, the youth and getting the next generation involved with traditional archery. So we have a great youth program. We donate thousands of, bows and arrows to kids. And right now we're actually doing a Christmas youth bow giveaway. So there's 4 bow packages that are going to be drawn right around Thanksgiving time so that they can be under the tree for Christmas.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's one where, we've got a rendezvous in the summer that brings thousands of people in. That's a shoot. And then we got a big game classic. We're going to actually host it in Grand Rapids, Michigan, March 17th and 18th next year. And we've got an archives program where, we measure animals, and we've got a traditional archives book that's the second edition of it's coming out next year. But again, I'd say, if you're passionate about traditional archery, then you really need to belong to Compton, because it is truly the only national organization. And we also have what we call a traditional hunt committee, and they're focused on creating additional opportunities and protecting the traditional hunting opportunities we currently enjoy.
Very cool, guys. If you are a traditional archer, actually, let me take that back. If you're an archer, I think you should belong to Compton, because here's what happens is we separate ourselves and we say, I'm not a traditional archer. I don't need to belong to that. But when someone attacks our rights as a bow hunter, it doesn't matter what you shoot, why you shoot it, or how you shoot it. We need to join forces and stand as one strong front. So I would highly encourage you to join Compton. I'm a member, and I would encourage you to join as well. Before we go, I got to give a shout out to -33 Merino wool. I'm a big fan of Merino. I wear it in the West. I wear it in the Midwest. I wear it on whitetails, elks. I wear Merino every single day. I haven't worn a non-pair Merino wool socks in like 7 years. I'm a big fan of Merino. I found -33. There was a big sale on backcountry.com, and so I ordered some of it, not knowing what it was or how good it was, but it was on an incredible sale, and I fell in love with it. It's some of the highest quality Merino I've ever found. They source for a lot of big companies to make the Merino for a lot of other companies that you might be wearing. So in my opinion, just go to the source and get the best Merino you can get. That's -33 Merino wool. Bryan, thank you so much for coming on, man. I wish you the best of luck, and I can't wait to see how many more big deer you quit posting the hall passes up. Then it just like breaks my heart, I'm like, man, why would I would never pass that up.
I've toyed around with the idea of, not doing that, but then people said, hey, I'm really enjoying seeing the hall passes. So it's, I'm just having fun with it.
They're lying to you.
They are. What kind of bow are you shooting right now?
The Kodiak Hunter.
Okay, nice. Yeah, I'm doing, I like to mix bows up. So I had the B mag riser on the bear hunt in Alaska. Then I shot the moose with a riser, mag riser. And right now I'm shooting the launch edition bow. And I shot the buck in Iowa with a limited edition series, bear takedown. So
that's cool. I will soon be switching to the Fred Eichler signature series.
Yeah,
the new takedown for this year.
Have you seen that yet?
Not in person. I should have
I
one
haven't
December, hopefully.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I haven't seen it yet, just in the pictures, but I'd like to get my hands on one too.
Yeah, I'm excited about that one. But I had a guy reach out and, he was asking me about recurves, asking me about what he should shoot and why. And he's a much taller gentleman. I think he said he's 6'4". And so I told him, in my opinion, the best bow that I've ever had hands on. And I said, I haven't shot the new Eichler series. I said, but the best bow I've ever had hands on is a B riser. And so he's going with a B riser with number 2 limbs. So he gets a 62-inch bow because he is taller,
Yeah.
make it a little more comfortable with him. So that's what I told him. I said, man, the most comfortable I've ever shot was a B riser. And so that's, in my opinion, at least.
Well, that was Fred Bear's preference. That was his personal bow, was the B riser. So my combination that I like the best is a riser with number 3 limbs. But
So I'm 60-inch.
I'm only 5'10". So going up, if you're 6'4", he's probably got a lot longer arms too. So the B riser, with number 2 or number 3 limbs would make sense.
Guys, I love those types of questions. I love, helping you. So if you have any questions whatsoever on what to shoot, how to shoot it, why to shoot it, shoot me an email, thehunting101podcast@gmail.com. That's one of my favorite things to do, is just email back and forth and share any information that I can find. So shoot me over an email. And if I don't know the answer, I promise you I can find somebody who does know the answer. Just ask Jim Willems. I'll ask him. I'm not afraid to. But no, guys, thank you so much for listening. Guys, it is approaching the end of November, moving into December, and that is my absolute favorite time to hunt, when that weather gets disgusting and that weather gets freezing cold and dumping snow. Find the food sources. That's where you're going to find the deer. So just like Bryan said, if you're, in thick timber, find the acorns. If you're in Kansas, find the standing, the winter wheat, find a bean field. And here's what one of my buddies does every year, on the farm that he leases out. He just buys 2 acres of the beans from the farmer and then says, don't cut them. I want my beans to stay standing. So then he has a 2-acre bean field that stays up all year long. And come December, that place is just swarmed with deer. But when that weather gets disgusting, that weather gets bad, find the food sources. You'll find deer. It's one of my favorite times to hunt because deer are super patternable. They will be consistently hitting the food. So enjoy this time. Get out there when the weather's the worst. And when you don't want to go, that's when you need to be there. So get out there this December, but as always, good luck, and I would love to share in your success. So make sure and send over those success photos. But thanks for listening. You guys have a great week.